Check 1, 2. Check, 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 check 1, 2. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. We're live. We're live. We're live. We're live. Today is March 14th, 2023. 2023. Do you know where your money is? Do you know where your money is? Is your money safe? In the bank? Well, it got bailed out, so I guess it is. Welcome, everybody. Marcus in the morning. Boom. Hello. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. In America and abroad. We're living in a time of bailout. Bailout. Banks are too big to fail. You heard? Banks are too big to fail. Good morning, everybody. Marcus Conte, reporter. Marcus Conte, the educational, philosophical, very scientific stream that broadcasts every day right here on YouTube. Welcome. Banks. You heard Silicon Valley Bank out there in California failed. Went under, couldn't sustain itself, $118 billion in assets. And according to the regulations, it wasn't able to continue as a private bank. So the government has stepped in. And yes, there has been a bailout. There has been a bailout. We can't call it a bailout. We can call it an FDIC bailout safely, where they have simply changed the name of the bank. It's now a, what kind of bank is it? What kind of bank is it? So the Silicon Valley Bank is now a, I forgot the name of it. Oh man. What is this called? You failed. Just give me a second. I'm trying to get my brain to go into focus. Right. Silicon Valley Bank, now a Bridge Bank. Bridge Bank. Thank you very much. It's a bridge bank, right? It's a bank, right? Isn't that the same as a regular bank? So we got lots of shenanigans. I've always said on this program that the rich will protect its own. Out there in Silicon Valley, a lot of those deposits and banking whatevers were for rich people, and it seems that the banks are clearly too big to fail in America. So stock market likes it, of course, because if the bank fails, if a bank fails and the government fails to back the failing bank, then the market will crash. You can blame, elevated interest rates. Hold on one second. It's going to be one of those days. So what was I saying? Oh, yeah. The banking, right? Banking. Where's your money? Do you have money? Does this even matter to most Americans? Do most Americans even have money anymore? Well, they just working paycheck to paycheck. All they do is put their paycheck money, maybe $1,000 or something, and then they use it to pay bills. Well, that money is guaranteed, whether the bank fails or not. But this bank, we are seeing signs of a real bailout. We're not supposed to do that. These are privately held companies, and the government is clearly bailing it out by changing the name, right? And so we'll look at that story. Fascinating. And other crazy events. Look at this submarine in off the coast of Colombia. A submarine found with $87 million of cocaine. We'll look at that story. 18 female guards fired from a UK prison for hookups with inmates. Wow, you go to jail and you got 18 women willing to sex you up. and that's I guess that's a good thing, man. So here's the new CEO for the Silicon Valley Bank. They just switched out all the leadership, right? And white people still under attack. New York Post declares Chat GBT. I've been saying CBT for the longest time, but it's Chat GBT is, in fact, does have a liberal bias. I had reported on that Monday, I guess yesterday, or a few days ago, and now the New York Post is picking up on it. Thank you, New York Post, for doing your research. Look at that, and what else? Markets are looking to open up. There you go. There's the futures. NASDAQ futures up 95. Dow futures up 240. S&P 500 up 35 as of 9:11 a.m. in the morning. And that's my thumbnail today. The FDIC comes into the bank, SVB, and says, "Give me your money. We're in charge now. We're in charge. Step away from the counter, and we will take care of the money." A lot of people frown on this. The old thinking was, you can't bail the banks out. You got to bail out the people. Well, in this case, they bail out both. Banks are too big to fail. They're too big, and they're not only too big, but these smaller banks just get gobbled up by the bigger banks. Everybody likes this because SVB is now out of business, and people like Chase, Bank of America, Citigroup, Wells Fargo are only going to get bigger as a result. So smaller banks going down. I don't know. Do people still have a political opinion about collapsing banks? I don't know. 2008, it was a big deal. Today, it's like, oh, that's how it works, man. It's business as usual. So my name is Marcus Conte. I am a video philosopher. I'm stumbling today because I'm no longer, I changed my title to philosopher away from journalism, right? I'm no journalism. What's that? Journalism is full of, bad conspiracy theorists who won't conform to the mainstream. And I'm not that at all, man. I am about as mainstream as it comes. I am the internet philosopher, video philosopher. Struggling video philosopher. So I have a website, Marcus Conte, and as I said, educational philosophical stream that airs live every morning at 9 a.m. And we have a weekly Dharma gathering. That's tonight. What is Dharma? Dharma is, think of it as studying the nature of reality. Very philosophical, educational endeavor into the human mind, and the use of mindful exercises, almost like push-ups for your mind. And we talk about that, and there's plenty of people in the world that know all about it. So if you're interested in that, come along 7 p.m. This evening, right here on YouTube. Way to fund this program through Zelle, shorthappylife@gmail.com. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Who's here today? So welcome everybody. Vinny Martini in the house. Weevil Girls here. Jim Gerard, Mad Cow, Mark, TJ, Ginal. What's up, man? Mikhail Sly, my brother. Mikhail Sly. All right, so let's Mad Cow Mark. JJ Wolf. JJ Wolf calls me Guru Conte philosopher. I'm no guru. I don't know who wants to be a guru. It's funny. Let's stop right there. When people claim, when you teach meditation or you instruct people on anything of a spiritual nature, they assume that you're trying to become some kind of guru. And I don't think that's what it is. I think it's more philosophy or passing on personal experience. And the job of the guru, historically, I know people frown on that term guru, but guru is simply, teacher. It's teacher. It's someone who points out a certain path and then says, in the Buddhist sense, it's the guru tells you to figure it out yourself, basically. That's all the guru really does. So anyway, so the website and what else I got? So let's start here, man. So legalization of drugs is probably the only solution at this point to solving the problem of drug abuse in the world. It seems, and but instead of going in that direction, there are still ghost submarines. In this case, with $87.7 million of cocaine and a pair of dead bodies. It was seized off the coast of Colombia. The Colombian Navy stumbled upon a chilling sight after seizing a ghost submarine and finding 2 dead bodies, along with more than $87.7 million of cocaine. So how much... I mean, the cartels have submarines to bring their product to, market, right? If it were legal, we wouldn't be having this problem. It would be, trade out in the open. And $87 billion worth of cocaine may not even exist. Why not the coca leaf? Why not go right to the leaf if people are so loving of this drug? Why not grow it? Why not grow the coca leaf and let people experiment with that and enjoy that, rather than having heavily refined, dangerous, untested, unfounded cocaine streaming under the ocean in a submarine with dead bodies and Navy necessary to find it and eliminate it. Right? We're going the wrong way with that. Definitely the wrong way. Officials estimate that there was more than 2.6 tons of cocaine. The vessel was 49 foot long. 2 survivors were also located in near-death condition. So what happened was, here's a good image of it. So they find this submarine, 49-foot submarine, with 2 guys out on the top of it, trying to save their own lives because there was gas inside of the submarine. So they found them. Rather than die or jump into the ocean and kill yourself, they stood on top of the boat until somebody rescued them. The Navy rescued them and then threw them in jail because there was $87 million worth of cocaine in the boat, in the submarine. There's the positive test. We've positively found the narcotic cocaine. I don't know what else to say. I mean, this is the war on drugs. Look how proud they are. Look how proud the Colombian government touted the Navy's efforts to prevent the drugs from being trafficked. Again, this is no endorsement for the use of cocaine. It's the way it is handled is simply ass backwards. Something that people want and or are dependent upon is deeply ingrained in culture, is only expensive because of the law enforcement built up against it. The courts, the border guards, the Navy floating around in the ocean trying to find it. Legalization, that's the way to go. How many more people have to die? You got 2 dead in the boat. Those 2 people wouldn't be dead if it were legal and cocaine was being traded at the local market somewhere. So anyway, the war on drugs continues. And if you should get caught, don't worry about it. Look, if you're in a submarine and you got 87 million of cocaine and 2 dead bodies, don't worry about it, because if you get to jail, hey, look at this, 18 female guards resigned from cushy UK prison over hookups with inmates. How about that? So we probably have these cushy prisons as well in the United States. We have minimum security prisons all over the United States, both state and federal prisons. And so don't worry about it. If you're male, you got a couple of women, they sign up for this, and they work as secretaries and correction officers, and they come in there and they service the horny men. And if they don't get caught, if they don't get caught, they're probably being paid in some way, or they're just incredibly deviant people that want to sex up with criminals. Right? They like that. What are you in here for? Oh, I chopped off 2 people's heads. And the woman comes in and says, "Oh, that's so exciting, man. It made me. Let's do it." It could be that. But in this jail, they have, look at this jail. Look at the lobby of the jail. It's nicer than some hotels. It's got plants and purple chairs and an office. Here's one of the hoes. Here's one of the hoes. This is Jennifer Gavin, was the most recent prison officer to be jailed for an intimate relationship. That's all. It's like total utopian, backwards ass society, right? Illegalized drugs, sex service in jail, banks being bailed out. Banks are no longer banks. Everything is government. It's like whatever we say. Jail's not so bad. They need sex, cocaine. I'll just leave it the way it is, and we'll deal with it just the way it is. People like it that way. Where's the liberals? What happened to where is the liberal left when shit like this is happening? Right? Don't you get it? Decriminalize, right? All of it. I bet 2,000 of these. How many of the 2,000 people in this Cush jail are in there for drug-related nonsense? I would say quite a number of them. So I don't know. I don't know what else to talk about. So let's talk about the banks. Silicon Valley Bank conducting business as usual. Really? I thought they went under. I thought they lost or were they couldn't. Their accounts were frozen. $118 billion in assets was frozen until yesterday. And it seems that the United States government, the FDIC, and Joe Biden's administration have played a funny with this one. And they simply, this is what the new bailout looks like. They switched the name from Silicon Valley Bank to a temporary bank called Silicon Valley Bank NA. Right? So you just changed the name, and now and you appoint a new CEO. Let's read. You'll see how bizarre this situation is, and how it has absolutely no effect on the markets crashing anymore. Because, hey man, we figured that shit out, man. We figured it out. The banks we can't have banks failing, and we're the ones who print the money, so we'll just guarantee the money. If anybody wants it, we'll give it back to them, and we'll redistribute the assets to the big banks that can. That have their big boy pants on and do as they're told. When the FDIC says jump, they jump. So Silicon Valley Bank new CEO Tim Mayopoulos assured clients Monday that the lender is open and conducting business as usual after the stunning collapse of the nation's 16th largest bank sparked fears of a major economic crisis. So, did the bank collapse? No, it didn't collapse. It collapsed for a hot minute, and then the FDIC came running in and appointed. That's not how CEOs are supposed to be put into position. They're supposed to be elected by the shareholders, or the company itself is supposed to make those decisions. But not anymore. Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, named Mayopoulos to lead the newly created bridge bank named Silicon Valley Bank NA Monday after federal regulators shuttered the startup-focused lender Friday. There's nothing to see here anymore. The FDIC has covered the trail. You could call this a aggressive takeover, a hostile takeover. Government maybe doesn't like smaller banks. They raise the interest rates, choke them out until they fail, quote, fail. But there is no fail anymore. They simply take it and then change the name and then appoint a new CEO, right? That's how they do it now. A bridge bank, this will look at the definition if you think I'm making it up. A bridge bank is a temporary institution that has been authorized by a financial regulator to operate a failed or insolvent bank until a buyer is found or the bank's assets are liquidated. How about that? So, this debunked bank, this failed bank, is not failed at all. It's simply waiting in transit with a new CEO and a new name, waiting in transit as a bridge bank before someone comes in and buys it, or the assets are liquidated. Now, assets won't be liquidated because that hurts. When liquidation of assets at a bank is bad. When Lehman Brothers, when they did that with Lehman Brothers, essentially a lot of the brokers at Lehman Brothers were holding all kinds of stock positions, bond positions, treasury positions. That's what traders do. Nobody really knows what the guy next to them is holding. That's the nature of trading, for the most part. And when something like that fails, all those guys are immediately fired, and the computers are locked. Now, the assets still exist. They still hold those positions, but then regulators come in and start to liquidate. And they look at what the trader has, for example, I don't know, 10,000 shares of fucking XYZ. And they take those shares and they throw it into the open market and crash it. They don't care. They're just liquidating. They'll get whatever they can get today. So they want to avoid that. And they've now found a way to avoid that by assigning the assets to a legitimate bank or a acceptable bank. And as I say, it's going to be Chase, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, or Bank of America. You know, one of those four will probably get it. So smaller banks, that's the real story. Smaller banks with a startup focus are being cannibalized by the government and the larger banks at really no there's really no hit to real people. The only hit to real people, regular people that had their money in the bank or care about banks being bailed out, is, I don't know, increased debt. Why'd you bail out the bank and not bail out, mainstream America? That's the argument, right? You bail out a $118 billion bank to save the rich people. The money on deposit is already guaranteed, but you saved the bank trying to pass on the assets of the bank that you basically stole and or contributed to seeing it crash. Remember, the Fed is raising interest rates. It was like 7 a few days ago. I think it's 6.45 now. It fluctuates. That's a lot. When it used to be 0. So banks are having a problem because of the raising interest rates. You could conspire to say that the elevation in interest rates is causing these smaller banks to crash, and that's precisely what the FDIC wants to do. That's what government wants. They don't want all these little banks controlling all this little money. Put it all in one pile, damn it. So the pile is getting bigger. The pile of money in the banking system is piling up, particularly in a certain area, as opposed to being spread out the way it should be. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about a thing. As a philosopher, I've just told you that there's nothing to worry about. Your money is safe, and your government will continue to back these smaller, continue to sink and or buy these smaller banks because it's in your best interest, right? That's what we do. We're here to protect you, man. So, so Silicon Valley Bank (NA) is now a bridge bank. Bridge bank, a temporary institution that has been authorized by a financial regulator to operate a failed or insolvent bank until a buyer is found or the bank's assets are liquidated. So that's what we're waiting on now. Notice that until a buyer is found, there's not going to be any buyer because nobody wants a busted bank. What happens is it goes on the market at a deep discount. Right? If there's 118 billion in assets, Goldman Sachs or Citigroup will say, "Yeah, we'll take care of it, but we're only willing to pay 20 billion, and we need 30 years to pay it." They'll do something like that. They'll buy it. There will be a buyer, but at a huge discount, and then the government picks up the rest of it, or the bank profits. The only downside in a situation like this, which there's mechanisms in place to prevent it, is a run on the bank. If it is a commercial bank with commercial receipts, commercial cash in the bank, if there's a run on that bank, the bank is not going to be able to sustain the run. Meaning that after 5% of the money is gone, the bank doesn't have the cash anymore to pay everybody. So that's why you don't openly let a bank fail, because then you've got to pay all of that money. The FDIC has to cover all the money of people running to the bank, pulling their money out. You want to prevent that from happening. And then the assets are thrown into the stock market and it crashes the market. You don't want either one of those. So the new way is to come in and say, "Oh, no, it's a bridge. It's a bridge. Don't worry about anything, folks. We got this under control. We're not going to liquidate. We're waiting for a buyer. We're waiting for a buyer, and we already have a couple of prospects." And there's also a strong arm on that side of the game, too. How many favors does, look at Citi. The United States government bailed out Citigroup in 2008. Citigroup would not have made it at all. So they're a candidate. We saved you. Now you got to help save them, because if you don't, we're going to not save you. So everybody's in bed with somebody else. I think the bigger point is, if you think that capitalism per se and crony capitalism and politics are separate, that Wall Street and government are separate entities, you haven't been paying attention. Just look at what's happening right here. The banking industry is being controlled by government. Now, do we not like that? Do we want to keep it private? Why? In this day and age, it's almost like a fading memory. Oh, yeah, everything's got to be private. And we don't want government controlling anything because they fuck everything up. Well, that seems to be fading in terms of banking. Right? You want the least amount of collateral damage. The least amount of collateral damage happens when government steps in and says, "We'll guarantee it. We'll change the name. We'll appoint a new guy to run it for a while, temporary bridge, a bridge bank, bridge, and then we'll get Citigroup to take over the assets, right? And everything will be fine. Don't worry about a damn thing." So anyway, here's a line. This is the worst. The worst fear is when regular Americans wake up to the fact that their money is in limbo, and they line up in front of the bank to get their money out. "I want my money." "Yeah, sir, don't. There's nothing to worry about here. We're now a bridge bank. We're fully operational. Don't leave your money right where it is." "No, man. I don't know what a bridge bank is, man. Give me my fucking money. I want it now." "Sir, we're closing in 5 minutes. You'll have to wait outside. Get the fuck out." All right. That's the thing that has never happened in modern American history. Showing up at a bank and the bank not giving you the money that you put on deposit in a bank in America has not happened in, I don't know, maybe 100 years or more. That's not allowed to happen anymore. That part of it is not going to happen so long as the government continues to print money and bail it out. Now, On the other hand, if you look at Chase Bank, Chase market cap of JP Morgan Chase, JPM. What is the market cap? $390 billion in assets is the market cap of JP Morgan. Market cap of Bank America. Bank of America. What's the market cap there? Market cap of Bank of America, $235 billion. Market cap of Citi. You can see the numbers. If any of these, $90 billion. So there's a combined right there, $500 billion. If one of these banks goes under, it's likely that the rest of them are in the same exact situation. For large banks to be stressed like that, something is wrong, and it's not isolated. So if these banks go under, what happens? How is the government going to put up $1 trillion? How are they going to do it? What are they going to just print $1 trillion? It's devastating, you know. So anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. What are we talking about? Oh yeah, so liberal bias. I think we got one more story. Welsh government says statue of old white men should be removed. So this insanity of attacking statues based on historical reference points and the fact that they happen to be of a particular race, white people that allegedly came and conquered. Is this the way to handle it, liberal left? You got submarines under the ground with $87 billion worth of cocaine. You got female correction officers banging inmates in jail. What else? What else you got, man? You got chats GBT lying to people, sophisticated software. Now you have Welsh government says statues of old white men should be removed, may cause offense to Britain's diverse population. Any statue over 100 years old that depicts a white person is now offensive. Congratulations, England and Welsh. The Welsh government says that statues of old white men, such as Admiral Nelson, should be removed or even destroyed because they may be offensive to Britain's increasingly multicultural population, with de facto shrines to diversity. It should be replaced with shrines to diversity set to replace them. What the fuck is a shrine to diversity? These are people that this guy, if you don't know who he is, this guy fended off fucking Napoleon, right? The conqueror, Napoleon. I asked about him. Hey man, where are you? So I asked about who is Admiral Horatio Nelson. I asked Chat GBT, who is this guy? Admiral Horatio Nelson was a British naval commander who is considered one of the greatest military leaders in British history. He is best known for his victories in the Napoleonic Wars, particularly the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805, where he died. Nelson was born in England and joined the Royal Navy at age 12. Wow, he was in the Navy at 12. He quickly rose through the ranks, gained a reputation as a skilled and daring naval commander. Nelson is perhaps best remembered for his leadership. In Spain in 1805, Nelson led the British fleet to a stunning victory over a combined French and Spanish fleet. He's a war hero. He's a hero, right? Does anybody and that's a liberal, that's Chat GBT, liberal new software generating it. Even Chat GBT knows who he is. So why are we getting rid of these people? Because there's a deep-seated racism in the world today, and anything You know what I'm talking about. The guidance, which is set to be finalized by the end of the month, argues that the memorials fuel the perception that the achievements that society considers noteworthy are those of powerful, older, able-bodied white men. So you're not allowed to be an elderly white man in history because why? Because it was somehow equated to aggressors who conquered people to expand Britain. They conquered people to expand Britain. No, they didn't. The guy was involved in not colonialisms per se, but he was fighting off the Spanish and the French. They're white too, aren't they? Liberal left. So who is the beef with this guy? Christopher Columbus, he marginalized indigenous people of America by sailing his boat over here and doing business. He was aggressive, although nobody was really there to see it. He was aggressive with those fucking indigenous people. So a grotesque, overt, stupid view of history today, history being rewritten by people that don't remember and or consider previous history. See, history now is we make it up. We're like, oh, no. See, the way those... It's not inaccurate. It's just we're telling the story differently. We're telling... he wasn't a brave soldier. He wasn't, a commander. He was a fucking imperialist, and he was spreading British imperialism. And I'm offended by that because I'm not authentically British. I got here late, right? And because I got here late, this guy his statue, his remembrance should be expunged from history. Right? So it's fucking crazy. David Brown says, "Great show, Marcus." Thanks, man. I feel like I'm struggling right now with these subject matters. Sometimes I feel like I'm on my own with this. Like doesn't anybody see this? Isn't it obvious that this is a form of grotesque racism and discrimination against historical figures? You have to embrace it. It's like for example, if you had great grandparents that you never met before, right, or great great grandparents that you never met before, go one step further, go even great 3 greats, like 6 generations ago, and you never met them before, and that situation there was their situation of the time involved different social and cultural differences. Things were different back then. It was a different time. And you find out that they were living in an era of racial profiling of somebody or some other misinterpretation of history. What are you going to do? What do you forget about them? What do you... No, that great-great-great-grandpappy, he's no longer... We're taking down his picture. Take his picture off the mantle. He was a racist, and he was involved in English fucking imperialism. Or do you just say, that was my grandpappy, and that was our history, and we're not like that anymore. We are not like that anymore. At least we think we're not. All right? We're not like that anymore. We are NATO. We provide bombs to the dirty Russians to blow up. We provide bombs to Ukraine to blow up the dirty Russians. You see? We're not imperialist at all. We give bombs to Ukraine, the smaller guy, to beat up the bigger guy, Russia. And we blow up Russia's pipeline in the Baltic Sea because it's fun and it destabilizes Russia a little more. These are all grotesque misinterpretations of history. And I guess we're running out of the ability to monitor it anymore. What is history? History is now, it's not taught in school books. When I was a kid, you would go to the encyclopedia set. My grandmother had one. We had an encyclopedia set in the dining room. And I remember being in elementary school, and I had to do a project once, a book report. And my grandmother said, well, go use the encyclopedia. That's why they're there. And I referred to, the encyclopedia set, and I found out specific facts about what I was trying to find out. At 7 years old, you don't really know what you're reading, but you get a gist of what's happening. Right? But that was the de facto way of figuring out what historically happened. And everybody kind of sort of agreed that that's what happened. But now, everybody is fucking Encyclopedia Britannica. Everybody has their own version of history because they got supercomputers crunching historical data that is, biased computers crunching historical data. I guess. I guess that's what it is. Right? So, what is the gist of it is, Philly Camden says, yeah, the public library, right? Remember when we had public libraries? Now that too is grossly manipulated. I think it's moving more towards at your fingertips sort of thing. Right? So, meaning that history is at your fingertips on the web. Right? The library can't even do half of what Google can do, although Google has now become biased just like all the rest. They're all biased to some degree because they're programmed by humans who are biased. The guidance, which is set to be finalized by the end of the month, argues that the memorials fuel the perception that the achievements that society considers noteworthy are those of powerful, older, able-bodied white men. Right? It's an all-out total war on a specific race, class of people. Is it a race? White men, is that a race? What about white women? What about, I guess it's racism, isn't it? Shouldn't you celebrate? Shouldn't it be the other way around? Shouldn't it be like this? Here we are in America, and it's a fascinating place. And it's fascinating because these older white men were so magnificent, and they brought us all so much opportunity in the present day. Because if they didn't do what they did, we wouldn't be here. Right? Let's have a holiday for all of the founding fathers of our great nation. The Constitution that they created. Even though they weren't a perfect union, they penciled in. They knew that they weren't perfect, and they penciled in ways to perfect the union. Right? Not by tearing down statues of them, like Jefferson and Washington and Lincoln. Not Lincoln, but Jefferson, Washington, Adams, the founding fathers. But not by tearing it down, but by just accepting it. This is what history was, and this is what it is now. And let the fucking statues stand. So that's how I see it. Yeah. So any questions for chat? GBT this morning. Let's have a question. There's a question. Are white people racist? Are white? Let's go. White people inherently racist? Let's see what it says. Are white people inherently? Let's get the spelling right. Are white people inherently racist? I'm asking Chat GBT. Are white people inherently racist? I need to know. It's taking its time. Ding, 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 ding. No. White people are not inherently racist. Racism is learned behavior that is influenced by various factors such as upbringing, social environment, education, and social experience, personal experience. While some individuals may exhibit racist attitudes and behaviors, it is not a characteristic inherent in their race. it is important to recognize that racism exists in all races and work towards creating a more inclusive and equitable society for all. Okay, then why are white people, why are historical white people considered racist? Okay? Why are historical white people considered racist? You just said that they're not inherently racist, but why do you consider them racist? It's taking its time. Take your time. There is no single answer to this question, as it is complex. There is a single answer. However, it is important to recognize that throughout history, people of all races have exhibited racist attitudes. Yeah. White people have been the dominant culture and political group. Okay, well, that's truthful. In addition, many historical figures who are now viewed as racist are operating within a cultural and social context in which racist attitudes and beliefs were deeply ingrained. So it doesn't give you a straightforward answer. It says no. It says no, white people are not inherently racist. So anyway, let's moving right along. Enjoy that software. It's pretty damn good. It's pretty fun, right? I've been having fun with ChatGPT, asking it questions, trying to befriend it, and trying to see what it knows and how it could, entertain me. So let's break to the markets. Markets are way up right now. That's a good thing. Banks are failing. They said they were failing, and now they're not failing anymore. Inflation rises 6% over last year in February, slowest since September 2021. All right, so the Fed is now, inflation rises at slowest annual pace since 2021. Breaking news. So Wall Street likes that. Banks are being bailed out. Inflation slowing down. The Fed is very, very likely to slow down their interest rate hikes in light of the fact that banks are failing, unless they like that. If the Fed continues to raise interest rates past this point, then you could argue that that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to break the smaller banks. But all good news on Wall Street today. Inflation rises 6%. It's slowing down. Inflation is slowing down. SVB bailout, a pretty significant move. Strategists are saying, no fear. There's no worries there. What is, let's look, JPM. Let's see what JP Morgan is doing this morning. JP Morgan up $2. Yes. Bank of America. B of A. No, Bank B of A. Bank of America, bing, bang, boom. Bank of America is also up. Bank of America Corp up almost 4%. Bank of America Corporation. All right, so there's no agony on Wall Street. Nobody is suffering. Nobody is suffering in light of the fact that a bank and other regional smaller banks are failing to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. It's just redistribution of assets. As I said, the bigger banks are going to get bigger. The smaller banks are going to go away. And everybody's going to be happy whether you like it or not. That's essentially what's going on. Right? So, again, as I've always said, don't underestimate the greed of the other guy. Wall Street protects its own. See how that bank was protected? No, it's $180 billion. We know what to do with that. $118 billion they already know who's going to get it at a deep discount and control those assets. And if there is a run on the bank, which there does not appear to be, it's not going to be allowed. They'll change the rule and slow it down. Right? They'll slow down the withdrawing of funds out of that bank. So there is no change. What you had is a problem of one bank not being able to meet the requirements of a commercial bank. Therefore, it's debunked and has to go away, and it's cannibalized by the government and the larger banks that it owns. So Jim Steele says banking shell game. Yeah, it is. It is. It's that game of with the shells and pick which shell the ball is under which shell. It's precisely what it is. So thank you all for joining me. Marcus Conte reporting. Thank you for dealing with me today. My head is a little slow. It's snowing over here. Hopefully this is the last snow we're gonna have. It's snowing bigly. Yeah, you got looks like 2 or 3 inches. It's not that big. 3 inches of snow here in Northeast Pennsylvania. I will see you guys tonight. I'm going to take a break today and relax. And I'll see you all at 7 p.m. for the ongoing meditation. And I'm going to try to do some of that in a little while, although I already did. Sometimes you just don't feel balanced. Sometimes that's just the way it is. That's the time where you're supposed to focus and meditate and relax. Breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. I'll see you guys tonight at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Marcus Conte reporting.